When we're talking about form, what we're really talking about is how a dog holds their body. That might be in a certain position, or that might be while moving. Generally, we refer to form as being correct form or incorrect form. The reality is that there's lots of different things that impact your dog's form. This can include their structure, if they have any orthopedic issues or sore areas or illnesses, the current level of fitness, your reinforcement mechanics and your position or your treat position, the equipment that you use, and a whole bunch of other things can all impact form. This is bad because sometimes there's so many different factors we have to look at when we're analysing form, but it's also good because it means that there are things that we can do to change a dog's form and position or in the movement patterns. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to have a look at and talk about the key indicators of good form in a sit, and then we're going to talk about different ways that we could correct issues with a sit. A sit really is a foundation exercise that we ask our dogs to do a lot, and we ask them to do in certain sports. So it's really useful that they can do this correctly and hold the right muscles in the right way. That's really going to impact how comfortable it is for them and how long they can hold a sit for. So when our dogs are sitting, what we're asking them to do is put their bum on the ground. Evo, sit. So they're partially flexing their hip. They're very muchly so flexing their stifle or their knee. Their ankle joints are partially, good boy, flexed, so bent also. And their forelimbs are vertical underneath their shoulders. So what we're looking for in terms of key indicators in a sit is we're going to go from the back legs all the way up through the back, front legs, and the head position. Come, sit. So when we look at a dog's back feet, we're expecting them to be underneath their stifles, so underneath their knees. The back feet should be evenly placed where the toes sit relative to one another. We also want the back feet to be tucked in line with the dog's pelvis. So we don't want to see toes sticking out to the side significantly or rotated inwards. Evo, come, sit. So from the front that we can see that Evo's toes are straight, they're in line with his knees, they're in line with his pelvis, and not one isn't sticking out more than the other. As we go up through other joints, the next thing we can look at is the dog's knees. So that's right there. They're harder to see with Evo. So same thing as with the back feet. We want knees to be in line with the toes, in line with the pelvis. We don't want them sticking out to the side, and we definitely don't want one sticking out more than the other. That means that not only do the knees have to be evenly bent and even amounts of weight put on them, but also the pelvis needs to be straight and not overly rotated. A key indicator of a sloppy pelvis where they lack muscles through the pelvis area and through the lower end of the core is that the whole pelvis could tilt to the side with knees going crooked, or sometimes the whole pelvis can rotate backwards. So I want you to see when I try and make Evo's pelvis rotate backwards, so that's a sloppy sit, how high his knees go up. So I'm going to do that again. When I make him do a sloppy sit, his knees go up. If I pull him into a better sit posture, his knees rotate downwards. So knee position can be a really big indicator of how well the pelvis has been held. As we keep going further up, what we're looking for through the back, or the top line, is that the top line is straight and strong, doesn't have a roach or a dip. It's basically a straight line from the pelvis up through the head. We can also look at the tail and make sure that it's not hanging significantly to one side or the other, which is another indicator of the straightness of the back and the top line and the pelvis. Come, sit. Good. When we're looking at the forelimbs, so the front legs, again, we want them good. Evenly placed and evenly weighted. We would like them underneath the shoulders, so straight down, essentially vertical. We also want to make sure the front limbs are not toeing out or rotating in significantly. The last thing we're going to look at is that the head is in a natural position relative to the spine. Generally, we want the nose to be approximately level with the ground. Good. So some of the ways that we can correct postural issues is the first way and the most easy way is to just use a piece of equipment. When we pop a dog, Evo's not going to do it, but on the ground, sometimes it's easier for them to move to move their feet into weird positions or be a little bit more sloppy. The second we put them up on a piece of equipment, especially if it's not a big piece of equipment, this really encourages them to tighten their muscles and pull everything in nice and tight so they don't fall off that piece of equipment. The smaller piece of equipment that we ask them to sit on, generally the tighter their sit will be. The next thing that we can do to work on your dog's sitting position is your treat placement. Sit. So if I place my treats really low, where I'm going to reinforce my dog, we can see the negative impacts to form for Evo. It's making him rotate back on his pelvis, his knees are lifting up, he's curving through his spine. Sit, please. And his head position is not ideal. If I put my treats higher up, this is going to help him sit in better form. I also want to make sure that I'm not feeding him too low or too high. Generally with a sit, this is one of the positions that it's preferable to feed them with a little bit more of a higher head because we get that pelvis rotation forwards and the core engagement. Good boy. The last thing that we can do if we have issues, particularly with rear feet toeing out or a very sloppy pelvis, is we can use other pieces of equipment to help tighten up that posture. So this can be as simple as adding good. Come, sit. Come, sit. Cones to either side of the dog's platform or even sitting on the flat. Dogs have quite good peripheral vision, and placing cones or items close to their side, again, like the use of a platform, generally will make them tighten up their posture to avoid touching those things on the side. So, have a go at this. Have a go at analysing your dog's sit posture and have a play with trying to fix it. Good boy, can you do a sit? Can you do a sit? Can you do a sit? Oh my.